Cool. Hello, and welcome to the Hollow Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Kieran Brennan. With me, as always, my co-host.
Man, that genetics forgot Rian and Kieran. I'm joining you not from the office. I'm on the sofa. It's actually nice to not have my back being broken while I'm recording the podcast, but I'm comfortable. That's the joys you get when you have brothers and sisters and family that are in work or school. You got free reign of the
Yeah,
house.
it's happy days, man.
It's good. It's good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. The Oscars were a couple days ago. That was pretty fun. I'm not like a big Oscars guy, but just watched them this year for once for some reason. Thought it was decent.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the wrestling head of me, but I saw the ratings were really down on them.
Yeah, no, but they've fallen like fucking 15 million almost from last year. I think it's a mix of like it wasn't advertised well. Most people thought it would just be a Zoom meeting, and there weren't any crazy big movies in it that anyone had seen. So I don't know.
Yeah, the only thing I remember from the Oscars really is the Ricky Gervais speech.
That was like the BAFTAs, I think, man. Or like it wasn't the Oscars, it might have
No,
been the Emmys.
no, because I remember he tweeted about it when it was coming out.
Okay.
Wait, I want to just confirm. I'm showing my unculturedness here, but Ricky Gervais speech. I'm convinced because he tweeted about it as it was. Sure, It might be the Golden Globes.
I think it was the Globes from memory because I remember that happening.
I think so, but yeah, no. In terms of award show speech, I'm not into the celebrity culture. But Ricky Gervais, yeah, Golden Globes 2020. But Ricky Gervais tearing all those people down was quite funny and true, and he spoke a lot of home truths. But yeah, other than that, it's good. In the summer months, though, I'm noticing here that anyone who has a dog will know that having a dog in the summer is an absolute fucking nightmare because his hair is absolutely everywhere.
I have a dog.
Yeah, my
There's
dog
like in our shed outside. There's been this pregnant cat who's like camping out, and we think it's going to try and give birth under our shed.
Oh, jeez, is that? I know. Yeah, that's going to be something you guys are going to have to deal with. The DSPCA, I think it is in Ireland, are probably going to have to get involved with that.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
I know. As in, if you want the kid, are you plan on keeping the cats or?
I mean, sure. If there's like 12 of them, who knows? The cat could just take them and run off. I don't fucking know.
Take them.
Weird mystery.
Puss in boots, just run.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, our dog is I got a new work top yesterday, and I just took it out there, and it's already got hair on it, and I don't know how.
Yeah, you started a new job, haven't you? How's that going?
I did indeed. It's good. No, I started yesterday. My first day yesterday. First time working behind a till, so that was a new experience. My people, it was at the start. To be honest, it is like it's weird. It's kind of like because it was busy, so like people are coming at you, which is a good thing and a bad thing in a sense. Because when you're trying to learn something, it's good that you're doing it like every 5 seconds just to learn it. But yeah, no, my people skills are usually quite good, so that's kind of. I worked in a shop before, but it's just the tills that's a big difference. But yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to the summer. A good mix of working and enjoying myself and working on the podcast. And so no, there's a good summer ahead, even though I'm going to be off for the summer when it's not even summer yet. So that's cool to say. But yeah, happy days. Yeah, no, it's all good. I'm quite happy at the moment. So to this week is a good week. In terms of wrestling, it's been just a weird week. It's been not much going on, but there's been a bit. Like there's do we want to start? I might just start with Impact. Because there's
sure, go on.
Huge, like to be fair, Impact have been putting on really, really underrated events. It's just unfortunately the name was dragged through the mud so much in the past that like people just don't want to trust it, and they kind of tie it in with the old. But Impact is doing well. So a couple of highlights from their Rebellion pay-per-view, which was headlined by obviously the title versus title match between Kenny Omega and Rich Swann, with the Impact and AEW tag team titles on the line. But first of all, Josh Alexander is your new X Division champion. Josh Alexander was formerly the tag team partner of Ethan Page, who's now in AEW of the North, and he's really, really good. He's got a really, really unique look. He's got like the amateur wrestling headgear. He works quite hard. I've seen him on social media. He works very, very hard at his wrestling. So it's good to see someone who's working very hard and seems like a genuine guy getting a title. So he won the X Division title of Ace Austin and TJP. That was really, really cool. We had an 8-man tag match, which was meant to be Eric Young and his group with Rhino and two lads. We had Joe Doring, Rhino, and Cody Deaner were meant to also also known as Violent by Design, which is Eric Young's stable. But Eric Young had an injury, so he said he was going to have a replacement against Cowboy James Storm, Chris Sabin, Eddie Edwards, and Willie Mack. And that replacement was none other than William Morrissey. You might not know that name now, but it's formerly known as Big Cass or Kaz XL of WWE fame. He is back. Now the man has had his problems in the past, but I listened to his interview with Chris Van Vliet recently. He did an interview very recently with Chris Van Vliet, and we've seen a lot of the stuff that's come out. He went to TDP, he went to a lot of people. He basically admitted that he had a problem, and he went and worked on himself, and has come back looking like a shredded motherfucker. Jesus, he was ripped. He looks fantastic, and it's great to see someone who obviously, when we saw Kieran, do you remember in WWE when we saw like he was having problems on the tour bus and he was being kicked off, and he had like that kind of thing with the small person with Daniel Bryan, the whole situation there.
Yeah.
You obviously take that at face value and you're like, oh yeah, that guy's a dick. But obviously you never know what's going on behind the scenes. And obviously he was recovering from he was in the early stages of an alcohol problem at that point, because something we've seen stories of him running around indie dressing rooms trying to kill Joey Janela. Like literally saying, I'm going to kill you, Joey, and him having to be restrained and Joey having to dress in a different locker room. We've had just stories of just him just breaking down, and it's great to see that he's recovered. And I strongly encourage you to go listen to that Chris Van Vliet interview, because all is not as it seems sometimes. And obviously with the broadcast that we're doing with DCU, we're raising money for helping families with addiction. And obviously on the other side of the pond, it happens all over the world. And obviously we took that at face value. I think at the time we would have said, oh yeah, that's a bit stupid. But like then you kind of wait till the full story comes out, because obviously he had a serious alcohol problem, and he's gone away and looked at himself in the mirror. And I think what everyone says is the hardest part, or the biggest part of overcoming addiction, is admitting you have a problem. And Kaz was saying about like people were like, why don't you just stop drinking? And he was like, oh yeah, that's a genius move, guys. I didn't think of that. But no, it's really great to see him back, and just wanted to get your thoughts on that, Kieran, because obviously I think we covered the Kaz story when it came out.
Yeah, we would have. And I imagine that at the start of it, we were like, oh, this guy's a bit of a prick or whatever. Because it was crazy when it happened. It was a lot of backstage stories of him being a bad bloke. And then it turns out, oh no, he has serious problems. And didn't he try and stab someone at some point or something at a show? It was just, I don't know.
Oh, no, that was the Joey Janela one. He had a loaded gun in his car, was the report.
Yeah. And it just, I don't know. It just became a really sad story, but it's been cool seeing he showed up with Enzo at some point, right? And it's been cool seeing his I don't want to say redemption, but his resurgence, like, and kind of coming back. And there seems to be legitimate support for him, and from what I've seen online, anyway, because he is, it's good to see someone get better.
Yeah, I remember he came back on a Luke Gallows ran show. There was a show that he kind of ran in coordination with Impact. So obviously this Impact kind of connection has been kind of rumored for a while. So it's great to see him back. So he entered the match, and he what it says here, he was just like a really more bitter and vicious version of Big Cass. Loads of punches, and then he won. So he beat Eddie Edwards. Sorry, he beat Willie Mack, which is huge because Willie Mack's kind of been on a run. And he was obviously the standout in the match, as you'd expect. Debuting some person coming in, making look huge. East River Crossing for the win. And yeah, no, great to see. Honestly, great to see. Mark Cardona versus Brian Myers, so former tag team partners. Obviously Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins fought against each other, and Matt Cardona had a bit of a knee injury. I think he might have dislocated his knee, maybe. He finished the match, but this is horrible run luck for Matt Cardona. Hopefully he's all right. He seems to online to say there wasn't anything coming out to saying that he was very particularly seriously injured. Paul, do you remember Paul Ellering, Kieran?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, well, his daughter debuted last night.
Any good?
Sorry, on Rebellion, not last night. It's been a while. It's been 3 days. But she debuted as Jordan Grace's tag team partner and won the tag team titles. So the Impact Women's Tag Team titles are now with Jordan Grace and Rachel Ellering. They beat...
Is that her debut match or debut in the company?
Debut in the company. She's had a lot of matches. But like Fire and Flava were the team that she was against, who are quite a good team. Kira Hogan and Tasha Steeles. I like that name. They won the titles. So Ellering countered a fisherman neckbreaker into a fisherman spine buster for the win. Wow! So she can obviously wrestle. We had a great last man standing match between Sami Callihan and Trey Miguel. Trey Miguel, obviously the former MSK tag team, part of the MSK trio. So he beat Sami Callihan. We then had Finn Juice. So Finlay and Juice Robinson beat the Good Brothers in their rematch. So the Good Brothers seem to be fully going over to AEW, I'd say, with that. And then we had Deonna Purrazzo defeated Tennille Dashwood, remember, formerly Emelina, to retain the women's title. And then we had Rich Swann versus Kenny Omega and Kieran. This match was crazy. It was fantastic. A little bit of interference. There was like Aubrey Edwards, AEW ref, became the ref after Brian Hebner got taken out. We had Eddie Edwards coming out and equalizing for Rich Swann after the Good Brothers got involved. We had Eddie Edwards and Willie Mack were at ringside, and just everyone was out there. It was crazy. Like a V-triggers everywhere. Like Swan hit a Phoenix Splash, V-trigger, one-winged angel. And then we had Don Callis and the Good Brothers celebrating with Kenny Omega, who now has the Mega de Campeones title from AAA. He has the Impact title, and he now is the AEW World Champion as well. So, Kieran, that man is... The last time we seen this was Kurt Angle. I don't know if you remember Kurt Angle when he had all the belts, Kieran. But he was the Impact Champion, Impact Tag Champ. I believe he was the IWGP Champion as well. He had 5 belts. It was crazy. There's a photo of Kurt Angle with like 5 belts on him. You can barely see any of his body or his ring gear. But this is what they seem to be doing with Kenny Omega. He seems to be an unstoppable force right now. And yeah, no, great match. Rich Swann has obviously done well since leaving WWE. But no, Kenny Omega, Kieran, crazy.
Where does the story go, do you think? Like, who takes one of the belts off? Which one goes first? Does he keep getting more? Where's it going?
It has to be the AEW title for the simple reason that Hangman has to be the next person to beat Kenny Omega.
But when's that going to be? And would Impact be happy, or however many other companies be happy just keeping Kenny have that title until then?
Oh no, but Kenny will defend the Impact title.
Yeah, I suppose, but still, I don't know.
I don't know, but man, they're building Hangman up. He hasn't lost. He beat Ricky Starks in a great match on Wednesday. They're building them up slowly. I still think it's the best story. It's the best slow burn storyline the wrestling has done in a long time, and it's going to have an amazing payoff. The fans are slowly coming back. UFC had 16,000 fans in the arena on Saturday. That's Florida, so that's AEW territory. So we'll see. The commission, whatever the Florida State Athletic Commission, might allow fans back in. But yeah, I don't know where it's going, but sometimes that's good with a story because like WWE has been a very, very predictable lately. Maybe this is good that we can hopefully, if they book it well and they keep Kenny strong without keeping one of the belts inactive, then we should be okay. It was they wouldn't put these. I know this sounds stupid and quite naive, Kieran, but they wouldn't put the belt on him if they didn't have a plan. They wouldn't.
That is a stupid and naive thing to sound, especially in fucking wrestling. But
I know, but you know what I mean. You always have to have that, like you know what I mean.
They've been good enough so far that you have faith that they have a plan.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean AEW and Impact. Like Tony Khan, we've got Don Callis, we've got Scott D'Amore. They're 3 fantastic minds in the business. I'm sure they're not going to fuck it up. Come back to this episode when it does eventually hit the fan. But that was Impact. But that was Impact.
A week's time.
Yeah, that was next week. They just lose all the belts. He loses all the belts to
Jungle Boy.
Jungle Boy had a great performance on Wednesday. But yeah, Kieran, what's the next news story we got? We got a few interesting news stories that kind of came out of left field. And if it wasn't for the recent firings, they would have been a lot more talked about. But they've been they've been talked about quite a bit. But I feel like they've been undersold.
Yeah, well, do you want to go into the Mickey James story then?
Yeah, let's go.
Here.
Go on.
Okay, well, on fucking 4 days ago, Mickey James puts on Instagram the video of her saying that she's gotten her ring gear back in a black trash bag. And she just had the comment of "no lies detected here," hashtag special delivery. And she was pretty upset by it, clearly. And then, everyone's outraged by this because, it is pretty disrespectful to show someone who has been in the business for so long and worked with WWE for so long, and just to send their shit back in a trash bag. And then Triple H tweets out a little while later, hang on, upon learning of the disrespectful treatment of some of our recently released talent received on behalf of the company, we took immediate action. The person responsible for this is inconsiderate action, has been fired and is no longer with WWE, which is, I don't know about you, I think that's a bit much to fire someone for that, but hey.
Yeah.
And then, even crazier than that, we found out that it was Mark Carrano, head of fucking talent relations, who's been on like Total Divas and countless backstage stuff. And then on Reddit, fucking supposedly, obviously you take it with a grain of salt, but apparently it's been confirmed by the mods or whatever, like it's been verified or whatever. A woman who was engaged to him at some point a few years ago had like a big Twitter AMA, which is just insane, and posted like a load of weird, odd things that he's done. He was in an episode of Say Yes to the Dress, and so was she. Vince McMahon RSVP'd no to his wedding.
Do you want to hear some of the stories I have here on Sportskeeda?
Go on, yeah.
I want your reaction to this. Right, here's some of the so here's some of her. It's one thing to emotionally abuse and torment humans who can stand up and walk away. To abuse a helpless animal, that's a whole other of unacceptable. But Mark Carrano tried to kill his ex's cat. Mark Carrano enjoyed putting me in sticky situations so he could swoop in at the last minute to try and be my knight in shining armor. What resulted in his many head games that left me confusing and wondering what the heck. One time, Mark Carrano yelled at me because I didn't answer my phone when he called. I was at a funeral. Mark Carrano would introduce me to everyone as his fiance, which would make me uncomfortable because my marriage isn't my thing.
Pretty weird. It's just a load of really odd stories.
There's so many of them.
I don't know what to make of it. And I feel like, there's so many. Go on, sorry.
I'm just saying there's so many of them that you have to believe them, because there can't be like people on a Zoom call being like, all right, we're going to dish the dirt on Mark Carrano here and like lie.
Yeah. Apparently, Vince McMahon also always works out to Back in Black by AC/DC, which is weird, but makes sense. It's I don't know. It's such an odd post and such a weird situation. And I don't know. I guess this was more of like this is the final straw type thing, because he's a big guy. He was massive in the company. People knew his name, and to fire someone over something like that, like relatively small. Obviously, it sucks, but it's relatively small. It's odd. And then other people have come out, like Gail Kim said he was a horrible person. Someone, made the implication that there have been like sexual harassment allegations or sexual assault allegations. I don't think we should comment on that because there's nothing official.
No.
But yeah,
look, Triple H and Stephanie came out being like, upon learning of the disrespectful treatment of recently released talent received on behalf of the company, we took immediate action. The person responsible for this inconsiderate action has been fired and is no longer with WWE.
And then Stephanie said, at Mickey James, I'm embarrassed you or anyone else would be treated this way. I apologize personally on behalf of WWE. This person is no longer in our company. Mickey James, quote, retweeted that saying, thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate that, as I'm equally embarrassed. I know this wasn't a malicious act. However, it did feel very symbolic to how I was presented in the last 3 years.
Yep. It is a damning indictment. One of the comments on Sportskeeda, he's a royal douchebag supreme. I think Federico Alvaro 75 sums it up quite well. But yeah, wow. It seems like it just adds to those rumors of a toxic backstage culture. In WWE, apparently there's been reports. Do you remember? You always get that report here in every few months now, where it's like WWE morale is at an all-time low, etc., etc. And like with things like this, it kind of, you're not surprised. But yeah, Fightful Select spoke with several WWE talents following Carrano's firing. It was noted that the reaction was unanimously in favor of his firing, with some talents simply saying, fuck Mark Carrano. Fightful added that multiple wrestlers called Carrano a snake. And then however, another wrestler mentioned that he was a good guy deep down, but let the power get to him. That kind of makes sense.
I don't know. Everyone's a good guy deep down, and lets the power get to him, though.
Yeah, that was definitely Randy Orton. That was definitely Randy Orton who said it. A long-time name believed that Carrano will return to WWE in the future, as he knows where too many bodies are buried.
Oh fuck! Okay.
Well, I think that's quotations. No,
I don't think it's literally saying.
Yeah, no.
He knows our body, but like he knows enough shady secrets that they won't want to get out, which is.
Or they might just pay him off a nice amount of money, which they can do because they have €1 billion and they fire a lot of people. But yeah, that is probably the biggest like non-wrestling in a sense news story of the week. New Japan have cancelled 3 Korakuen Hall shows following a state of emergency. Wow. What was their state of emergency in Japan? Is that due to COVID? The new state of emergency will be short and powerful. It's regarding the COVID-19. It's regarding COVID-19. Yeah, that's pretty fair. Japan has obviously had its struggles with COVID, as has a lot of places. But Japan in particular has had. I don't know what their vaccine situation is, but yeah. What else do we have? Is there anything else on your sheet, Kieran, that you have?
Well, Daniel Bryan, he said in an interview that his contract is up soon, and he never wants to stop wrestling. He loves it. I just figured that it's just figuring that out. It'd be interesting if I could wrestle in a different companies and WWE. That's something I'm trying to weasel my way into right now. Which, look, I don't think it's going to happen at all. I think this is very much like the time where Randy Orton was negotiating a new contract, and he kept saying that he was going to AEW or whatever. But it's interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, no, Daniel Bryan is a smart guy, even though he's got a family. He will say things that will ruffle feathers and try and get more money. Everyone does. But I think at the core of it, in terms of, there's a few people who that's their only goal when they do these kind of things. But I think Daniel Bryan genuinely loves to wrestle. Like, he genuinely loves to wrestle, and he loves to like put people over, as we saw on SmackDown as well. He just likes. He has that thing where now he's such a huge star. Nothing he can do will make him any less than what he is. So everything he's doing is to elevate someone else, even when he's still focusing on his own thing.
Yeah.
As we saw on SmackDown, which is building up to a huge match next week, which we'll talk about in a bit. What else do we have?
Well, WWE is reportedly trying to transition their product into more of a mainstream entertainment company, which is very vague, but makes sense, and they've been going that way this whole time.
Yeah, no, they've been kind of it's just kind of like they're cutting down on a lot of the very PG. They are kind of bringing in these celebrities. You saw with their commentary team changes recently is a lot more mainstream. One which has worked out well. I like Pat McAfee. The guy on Raw isn't great. Don't really know much about him, but I don't like him. Adnan Virk is his name. Speaking of him, the reason he got into the job apparently is because he was good friends with Nick Khan, who's the guy who also said that WWE wants to go into the Mexican market. And then Andrade was like, yeah, fucking right, you do. So yeah, no. But yeah, it makes sense getting more mainstream names on there. And yeah, it's see how it goes. I mean, it will make them a lot more money. Whether it makes the product any better, highly doubt it. But yeah, Kushida said MSK have the potential to change tag team history. It might be in storyline, but that's a big thing for someone like Kushida to put over MSK like that. Kushida, obviously a champion himself. What else do we have? Rhino said he wants to wrestle for 6 more years. Fair play to him. Now, Cinta de Oro, also known as the Sin Cara character, did an interview with I believe he did an interview with Talksport, where he said that he left WWE after Paul Heyman told him Sin Cara is dead. Doro performed under WWE in the name Sin Cara between 2011 and 19. Oh yeah, this was actually quite interesting. This interview, he spoke a lot about like the controversy surrounding him and backstage, and he said like a lot of it was like blown out of proportion and like made him look quite as he would. But he said like a lot of it was just like you know, you had a fight and then the next day you forget about it. Like you had an argument and the next day you forget about it.
Yeah.
He talked about specific instances with like Sheamus and Jericho and stuff like that, where he just said there was I haven't watched the full interview. I'd like to see what he thought about the Alberto Del Rio stuff, but I doubt they touch on Del Rio given his current situation. But yeah, oh yeah, this is actually interesting. The Miz 24 came out, Kieran. Did you hear about that?
I heard it was great.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it yet, but John Cena, he praised on him. Everyone he praised. And when you look at it, like he did turn himself from a Diva Search host into a
WrestleMania main eventer.
WrestleMania main eventer, and I don't want to say the word mainstream, but in terms of like and like the Miz and Mrs., he's a lot more mainstream than a lot of the WWE talent is at the moment. He has his own show. He's got a wife, 2 kids, and fat house and a fat bank account. So fair play to him. Like, you've got to give it to him because he wasn't one of them who was meant to succeed in WWE's eyes, guaranteed. And he made himself into someone who succeeded. So yeah, I'll look at that when I have a chance. But yeah, fantastic stuff. When John Cena, I feel like we put a lot of weight in what John Cena says. So when John Cena comes out and says, "The Miz was a fantastic asset and is a credit to the business," then you got to believe it. Are you going to be watching that anytime soon, Ken?
I usually watch most of the 24s or like the WWE day ofs. Yeah, you know, eventually. When was the last time they did a 365? They were cool.
Kevin Owens.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, but yeah,
all the WWE documentaries, they're like the best part of the network.
I love
they really are.
I love the 24s, the Hardy one, the Kurt Angle one, just Daniel Bryan.
All the Mania ones are really good.
Yeah, all the Mania ones are really good. But anyway, is that it for news? Or are we moving on to some wrestling? Or are we?
I think that's it for news. Yeah,
that is it for news. Okay, we missed. Obviously, we're recording this on a Tuesday. It'll be going out on the same day in about an hour. So Raw. Man, Kieran, I know we say this every week, but the difference between Raw and SmackDown is mental. It's just, it's crazy. On Raw, you've got Charlotte being reinstated after being fired last week for attacking staff by Sonya Deville. Sonya Deville was on Raw. She reinstated Charlotte Flair. And then we have in the main event of the Raw WrestleMania Backlash week, Bobby Lashley versus Braun Strowman versus Drew McIntyre in a triple threat. And then on the SmackDown side, which is what I want to get onto, Kieran, we have Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns next Friday. And if Daniel Bryan loses, he leaves SmackDown.
Which is crazy.
The difference is mental. So I'm going to talk about SmackDown because SmackDown was really, really good. We had Cesaro came out and then and was about to start talking about Roman Reigns, and then Seth Rollins interrupted, being just a smarmy dick as he usually is. He took credit for like making Cesaro who he was, and he said he took him from down here and brought him up here. And then he said he basically blamed the weather at Mania for like throwing him off. Rollins did. He said God and Mother Nature threw me off, and then he said he would not lose to Cesaro on his. If Cesaro was on his best day and Rollins was on his worst, he would still not lose, which is just like kind of transparent, crazy babyface crap. Yeah, it's perfect for the foil for what they're trying to build there. Cesaro asked for a rematch, but then Jey Uso interrupted. I love the star Jey Uso's team or the Usos team. You know, like the scream. You know the scream. I don't want to do it now, but that like
no, do it.
I'm not doing it.
Go on.
No, I'm not doing it. I just like it. It's a good start to it. It's not that level, but it's like that kind of glass shatter with Stone Cold. You know, like who's coming out when that when that hits. I like
it's the sting, or not literally sting, but it's the sting of the song. We're like, oh, it's this person.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's at the beginning of loads of wrestlers' teams. I think Rollins has one as well.
Yeah, I like it. One of my favorite things. But yeah, so Daniel Bryan, they were surrounding the ring, and then Daniel Bryan came out and stood beside Cesaro. So they're obviously that looks obviously like a tag match building. And then Bryan said he came to the ring to ensure Cesaro gets what he deserves. And he hasn't got one break his career in his career for the Universal Champion. So it was Roman Reigns coming to the ring, and they had a 3-on-2 beatdown of Bryan Cesaro. Brian. I watched this while I was doing work, so I kind of missed. Brian ran down everything that was going to happen. So he basically called out Roman being like saying you're a coward. Roman just never came out, which is perfect. They kept calling him out, but he didn't come out. But then it just Reigns just bragged about his WrestleMania victory. He didn't come down and beat anyone up. He just came out and just said Bryan and Cesaro were losers. He said Bryan is just an absolute. He differentiated between the two versions of losers that Bryan and Cesaro were, and he kind of had a big smile, and Paul Heyman was just grinning from ear to ear. This is perfect. It made every there was 5 people in there, Kieran, and they all look strong. And they all look strong. Whereas Lashley is the only one that looks strong for me in that triple threat currently. So then we had Cesaro and Bryan versus Rollins and Jey Uso, as you'd expect, just a fun little TV match. And then Bryan said Reigns is afraid because he knows a match with Cesaro ends with a new champion. And Cesaro swung Jey Uso for about 40 times while Daniel Bryan was on the mic saying, he pointed out it was a perfect line. He was like, Jey comes down and saves you every match. Where are you? And Roman just wouldn't come out. It was perfect. And Cesaro just kept swinging. Like, did you ever play I remember when we were younger, we played like dizzy penalties, or just you'd spin, your mate would spin you around and you'd be so dizzy. Cesaro is like spinning someone around for a good solid 2 minutes, and he's standing up.
He's got to be used to it by now, surely. He does it every night or whatever. It's insane. I don't know how the fuck he does it.
Oh man, it's fucking mental. But anyway, Tamina with Natalia and Nia Jax with Baszler and Reginald. Tamina defeated Nia. Tamina defeated Jax. Great. No, I'm sorry. I just don't have anything to add. That's literally what happened.
I think someone's pointed out that there's like 8 or something or 12 minutes of women's wrestling in all of SmackDown this year.
Yeah,
insane. And I guess that's kind of, the reason that it's been so shit is that they don't seem to care about it.
Yeah, they don't really have the champions fighting on the cards. They keep that's why the pay-per-view matches have always been amazing, because they're building the women's matches outside the ring.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But Kevin Owens on Apollo Crews for the Intercontinental title. Yeah. Big E took exception to it, and they were like, Big E was like laughing and Kevin Owens was laughing. They were both like maniacally laughing at each other. But yeah, Owens was just fantastic. Owens and Crews put on a really good match. But then Owens hit the pop-up power bomb. Sorry, he hit the Swanton bomb. And then Sami Zayn's music played. Sami Zayn's actually doing a really cool thing at the moment. Do you remember when he did the dance on SmackDown? You know, that kind of Sami Zayn dance?
Which he keeps doing.
Yeah, but this is good because he put it on a t-shirt, and all the proceeds are going to the Sami for Syria thing, for building the shelters in Syria. So, like that, he's doing some really, really good work. So yeah, Sami Zayn came out, and then Owens was distracted. And Zayn was on commentary. Pat McAfee and Zayn on commentary was funny. Owens hit a cannonball, two count. I don't know why. Crews at one point kicked out of a pop-up powerbomb, Kieran. Didn't like that. Not a fan. I hate that when like someone change. You know the way when a wrestler changes finisher. This is a specific gripe. You know when a wrestler changes finisher, but they still use their old finisher, but now people kick out.
It's not as good anymore. Like that is dumb.
So stupid, and it happens more than you think. I can't point out a specific example, but I know for a fact it happens more than you think. Even though I'm very, very nitpicky there. But yeah, then Commander Aziz distracted Owens, and then Crews rolled him up for the cheat dirty liar, not clean, very dirty win. And then the Aziz came in and hit Owens with what's called a Nigerian nail, which I believe is his hand, but just with his thumb up, and then he smacks Owens in the face. So yeah, and then Sami Zayn just did the dance over Owens' body. I liked it. Sami can dance. I like the dance. Alistair Black, Kieran, did you see this?
Yeah.
What do you think?
He had like a vague vignette, right?
The Dark Father was the book. That's what it was called.
Yeah. I don't know. Looks all right, I guess. I wish they didn't have to like try and rebuild him with vignettes and could just throw him straight into something. But hey.
Yeah, it's always a different version of a vignette when it's Alistair Black, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just always
a bit frustrating. He never seems to have any momentum or something. I don't know.
Well, he'll honestly this cycle will happen until he leaves, guaranteed. I'll call it now. He chastised the viewers as the promo came to an end, as he would, because he's a heel. Kayla Braxton was an interesting one this week. She got a lot of flack on social media because people were like, "Oh, how much makeup or tan are you putting on?" And she just came out straight and was like, "I'm black. When the summer comes out, my skin goes a lot darker. Like, fuck off." And I was like, yeah, fair enough. People need to stop judging people just by what they see on TV, just because someone's a bit like darker, like than what they were last week. Just be careful when you're making comments like that. So yeah, but she was talking to Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, which what's their name? Did they call themselves the Dirty Dogs?
The Dirty Dogs.
Dirty Dogs. I don't
Terrible
mind.
Name.
It's just cheesy. The Street Profits interrupted, and I was like, "Do they have anyone else?" No. Well, they do, but they were later in the night. Bailey broke it up, and she started like just chatting shit about Bianca Belair, and then Montez Ford got her on the phone and was like, "She's talking crap about you." And then Bailey threw fake compliments when Bianca Belair confronted her. It was kind of like generic babyface stuff, if I'm being honest. Bailey does it very well, but the material is just very, very same old, same old. They're building to a match at WrestleMania Backlash. Terrible name. But yeah, Kieran, what do you think? What are your thoughts of Bailey and Bianca? I just think that the same problem with the tag division and the women's division on both brands, the feuds just keep recycling.
But we haven't seen Bailey versus Bianca, have we?
We had the early stages of it, but I think we keep having like the same challengers, and kind of like I like Bailey and Bianca, but like in terms of, I'm probably thinking because the Charlotte stuff is in the back of my mind. I think the Charlotte and the New Day are both the kind of two people who just keep getting inserted into feuds, title feuds, like every second time. But
see, I could make the agreement for the New Day because it is literally they're always in the tag scene, and for decent reason. But with the women's stuff, there's enough variety there where I'm like, okay, or at least like there'll be a champion, and then they'll cycle through all the same challengers, and then that champion will lose eventually, and then the new champion cycles through all the same people. But it still does kind of feel like a fresh matchup, at least, especially with Bianca, who she's still new on the main roster.
Yeah, listen, I had a lot of good things to say about Bianca. I probably just had the Charlotte stuff in the back of my head, but as I said in my original question, Bailey and Bianca, I think that's going to be a great match.
Yeah, no, it should be very good. I don't think Bailey's incredible in the ring as a heel, but like, yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh no, Bianca will do some crazy shit with her, like overhead press, shit like that, But Mysterio's on the Alpha Academy. This is a feud that's just gone on forever. But Dominic Mysterio did hit like a cool, like, that slide, the you slide along your stomach like Ray does, and then he hit like a what is it called? A sunset flip powerbomb, which is really, really cool. Ray hit a splash on Gable for the win. Solid match. And then at the end of the night, Daniel Bryan came out and was like, "Where's Roman? Is Roman gonna come out?" Cesaro was there. They came out just as the Mysterios were walking the ramp, and they said, basically, "Where's Roman? Why isn't he coming out?" And then Roman came out, completely ignored it, just said to Cesaro, "The answer is no, and it'll always be no." And there's a really cool bit where Roman Reigns had directed his attention to Daniel Bryan, and he was like, I'm talking to him." And Cesaro started being lippy, and Roman just goes like half on the mic, but half off it, just going, "Shut up," and like just like this, subtleties. And then he just basically said to Daniel Bryan, you can have your match next Friday. Take a look at the belt because it's the last time you'll see it. Me versus you for the title, and if you lose, I don't want to see you anywhere near SmackDown again.
There we go.
Boom.
Yeah, I presume he won't lose, or maybe he will. It's hard to tell. You know what? That's good. I have no idea what's going to happen.
No, me neither, and that's a good thing.
Maybe he'll pop down to NXT for a bit. That'd be fun.
Yeah, Pete Dunne's been calling him out a bit. But yeah, fantastic. We're not going to talk about Raw. It's just really wishy-washy. Damian Priest and the New Day throwing rotten tomatoes at the Miz and Riker and Elias. No, not for me. Unfortunately. Was there anything good on Raw? Was there anything redeeming about Raw at all? The main event pictures that Sheamus and Humberto Carrillo are entering into a feud. Humberto Carrillo looks great. He's ripped. I like Sheamus' look, even though it's slightly stereotypical. But yeah, so NXT we'll go with Kieran, because Cameron Grimes, he's been away for a bit, but he came back and he tried to establish a business relationship with Kyle O'Reilly. Kyle O'Reilly said that Adam Cole's behind him, but then he was like, obviously Cameron Grimes talking about his money and his business, basically said that he wants to enter a business relationship. O'Reilly almost agreed, but then he revealed that he was cleared and he knew exactly who he wanted to face, and he punched Cameron Grimes in the face and took his hat. So Kyle O'Reilly versus Cameron Grimes in the main event. I'm very happy. I was very happy with that. Loomis versus LA Knight. LA Knight defeated Loomis. Loomis and Hartwell. Have you seen this? Indy Hartwell and Dexter Loomis are they're teasing a romantic relationship, and they've trademarked the name Index.
Huh. There you go.
So yeah, the way the way dragged her away before they could kiss, and they tried to kiss out on the thing after the match. So LA Knight's building himself up. Mackenzie Mitchell tried to interview Indy, but the way interrupted. Bronson Reed challenged Johnny Gargano, but it's Austin Theory versus Bronson Reed next week. This thing is just going in a circle, and I don't like it at all. Frankie Monet interrupted Io Shirai, so we discussed Frankie Monet last week. Interesting character. So Leon Ruff is fighting Swerve Scott. Shit, Swerve Scott. They're fighting again for the 15 millionth time. But then Beth Phoenix has a sit-down interview with Io Shirai, and she was talking about her next step. But then Frankie Monet interrupted with her dog and said that she would take her spot while Io was away. Io said she's gone away to reflect for a bit. GYV defeated Breezango. Not complaining there. GYV need all the wins they can get. They need to be the next champions when it comes around. Sarai debuted, Kieran. Do you remember the new signing that was signed from Japan?
Yeah.
Zoe Stark demanded that she's the first opponent, and Sarai defeated Stark with the Saito suplex. She's very, very good in the ring. Very, very promising. And another fantastic talent from that part of the world that will obviously continue the legacy of great Japanese champions in NXT. Some fantastic ones down the years. So there's definitely some history there, and I think Sarai is going to be no different. Stark and Sarai had respect for each other, but then Toni Storm stomped out Stark when she left the ring. So Toni Storm is back with a bit of a vengeance. Kushida's first defense of his cruiserweight title, Kieran, Oni Lorcan. You know me, you know us. Remember? Do you remember our early parts of the podcast? We had a segment where he read out Oni Lorcan's tweets
because they were all in capital letters, and it was just like he was screaming at you through Twitter.
Yeah, I want to bring it back for a bit. I'm gonna get one now. What has he tweeted? Jeez. What has he tweeted just there?
What a throwback!
Man, I love that. I love that segment.
Have we done more episodes online than we have in person now at this stage?
Oh, probably. I think we started the pandemic on 30, 40 maybe.
Wowee.
Where he just seems to be retweeting shit. Oh my god, he tweeted in non-all capitals. Oh, that was a bit.
Maybe he's given up the gimmick.
He has given up the gimmick.
Bastard.
Bastard. What a bastard. What a dirty, dirty man. Wow. But anyway, boo, Only Lorcan now. Only Lorcan and Kushida. Kushida won, and then Legado del Fantasma, very good match. Legado and Fantasma interrupt the Cruiserweight Champion, and MSK arrived to even the odds. Kieran, what are your thoughts on? Do you think the Cruiserweight Championship has kind of been? It's definitely been saved by a lot of the stuff that's gone on in NXT. But what would you say the kind of future of it is, or what would you say how it's been elevated since it kind of lost all its prestige after Pac lost it, or when Enzo had it, it was kind of, but for a different reason.
I don't know. It's still 205 Live is still a thing, and no one watches that. Is the problem?
It's 2 matches.
It's just a secondary championship on NXT, kind of. It doesn't feel like its division is kind of lacking still. More so even because there was that period of a few months where people were like, "Hey, 205 Live is actually really good," but now it's just no one talks about it. The conversation's just totally moved away from it, which is a pity.
Let's just bring Mustafa Ali down there. If you're gonna fuck him over on the main roster, Mustafa Ali on NXT. Just bring some of the old 205 Live lads back to NXT, and just I know we always say that with everyone, but you know there's sometimes when it needs to happen. There's a lot of tag matches on NXT. Imperium beat Everrise, and yeah, spinning uppercut for the win, dominant win from Imperium as you'd expect, and Kyle O'Reilly and Cameron Grimes. Kyle won with the diving knee drop to the back. I love that diving knee drop finisher from Kyle. You know, like it's something different, it's something you never really see. But it should have, like, if someone jumps on you with your knee on your back, everyone's had that moment where they're like when they were like younger, when they're like playing with like their brother or sister on the sofa, and you just get a knee in the back or just get absolutely smacked, and you feel it. So that's exactly what that was, just a knee straight in the back, and Cameron Grimes loses. Cameron Grimes doesn't really need to. I mean, he will win a title in someday because his character is very good, but doesn't need to win right now. Kyle seems to be building his way up. Kyle versus Karrion Kross, Kieran, I wouldn't complain.
Yeah, could be fun.
Because Karrion Kross looked at the Karrion Kross was at the ramp, and he just stared him down as the challenger as he headed to the ring. So
when is the next takeover?
They haven't announced it, but I can have a look.
I presume Money in the Bank then. There's usually one around that time.
Yeah, next NXT takeover 21. List of pay-per-views in 2021. No, the next NXT takeover is UK Takeover Dublin on the calendar.
Woo!
On 20th of June. 20th of June. It's not happening. Oh, the NXT pay-per-views haven't been put in the calendar. So no, they haven't announced it yet, but I'm assuming in the next week or so they will. But yeah, Kyle stands tall to end NXT. Probably going to go for Karrion Kross. And then we have Dynamite, Kieran. Dynamite. Because we had, after Darby Allin had that chaotic main event last week, he was involved in another great match this week. Hangman Page defeated Ricky Starks. So Hangman Page and Ricky Starks had a really, really good match. Ricky Starks' charisma coming out of his arse. And Hangman Page is obviously one of the most over characters in AEW, if not the. So Taz cut a promo afterwards saying, "Watch your back, Page," and Hook chop blocked him. So Hook has finally gotten physical on main AEW. Team Taz just beat the crap out of him. Then Dark Order made the save. I like that. Kieran, look up Hook on Hook is shredded. Like when you had the jumper and like cap on, you don't really expect it, but Hook is ripped. Like looks class, and I cannot wait to see him in the ring. He's fantastic. Trent fought against Penta El Zero Miedo. Obviously Penta has Alex Abrahantes doing the Penta says thing, the kind of the translator at the moment. So Abrahantes grabbed the microphone at the end of the match and towards the end of the match and said Trent's friends suck and so does his mother. And Trent chased after him, and then a failed interference, and then Cassidy got absolutely pummeled, and then a microphone to the head while the referee was distracted, and Penta healing it up gets the win. It did what it needed to do. the Pinnacle, Kieran, the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle are building up to Blood and Guts on May the 5th, which is next week, I believe.
Have they done a Blood and Guts match before? They were going to, I know.
No, do you remember this is the one that's the year in the making. They were meant to, and then it was meant to be what this Stadium Stampede was meant to be the Blood and Guts match.
Ah, yes. Okay.
So, in this promo with Jim Ross, Wardlow credited Jericho for cutting one of the best promos of his career last week until he mentioned Wardlow's name. He stuttered and stammered his lines because he knew uttering Wardlow's name was a mistake, Wardlow said. MJF said Jericho surrounds himself with B, so he looks like an A, and then he wrestles A, so he doesn't look like a B. That's a really, really good line it was. And he denounced that he's great for 25. He said Jericho said last week that he was great for 25, but MJ was like, "Fuck off! I'm great." Period. And he said he's coming for Jericho's spot at Blood and Guts, and with his family by his side, he will take it. Another great promo, and I love this build. Shida and Ty Conti, Kieran, fantastic match, fantastic. Like Ty Conti has spent the last 2 months just becoming a fantastic women's wrestler, and the women's roster is really, really improving.
Yeah, everyone seems to be saying it now that they've kind of gotten a handle on it over the last while.
I love it. Fantastic. Ty Conti has done fantastic work with, like, even though she's been doing the Dark Order stuff, and hopefully Anna Jay is back soon. But yeah, Ty Conti has been doing very, very good. There's just so many cool moves here. Just the MMA style was really, really cool. And as someone who's a big fan of the MMA and like the UFC, I really, really enjoyed this match. She tried for the DDT and the TKO and DDT. I like that, the way the moves are. But Shida countered a pinfall for 2. And then she hit the knee to the face. Do you remember? I don't know if you watched Revolution, but like the spinning knee to the face Shida hits. She does like just a roundhouse knee straight in the face. And then, so Shida defeats Ty Conti. Ty Conti looked very strong. But then Britt Baker, who's obviously the talk of the women's division, Kieran, after that unsanctioned match, came out and said, looked at the rankings came up on the screen, and then it changed. Britt Baker is now your number 1 ranked woman in the division. And I believe, Kieran, this is the beginning of the end of Shida's reign, and I believe we're going to have Britt Baker as our champion.
Would make sense, given how crazy that match was a month or 2 ago with all the blood and everything.
If I had a house that I owned, I would bet it on it that Britt Baker is winning this, because they built her up fantastically. She's a brilliant heel. Rebel is fantastic as well. It's just, they've done very well with this women's division. Jericho came out. So we had a promo from the Inner Circle. Sorry. Been a long. It was in work till 10 last night and had to do a bit of college work. I'm yawning a lot on this podcast. Jericho called the pin. Santana is fantastic on a promo, Kieran. I remember. Do you remember? Don't know if you remember this, but do you remember when Santana and Moxley had a match, and Santana cut a promo about when Moxley had the eye patch, and Santana cut a promo about his dad being blind. Yeah, and it was really, really, really good. Like, everyone was like, "Oh shit, this guy can talk. He's so good. He's fantastic." And they look all great, all in black. They're fun. He called the Pinnacle's actions bitch moves. And then Jericho like cut a promo where like he was like, "You like singing, Max, or do you like a cabaret performance?" And he did like a really cheesy, crappy, like deliberately crappy show tune. Before then, he issued a challenge for a parlay between the factions on next week's show, which I believe is a standoff. I don't know exactly what a parlay is, but I believe it's just them. Let me look up the definition of parlay here, because Jericho likes using those fancy words. Definition of a parlay. A parlay, turn an initial stake or winnings from previous bet into a greater amount by gambling.
Gambling.
Okay. So cool. Right. They're going to put stakes on it. Stakes. Maybe Omaha stakes. Because Jericho likes his Omaha stakes. Billy Gunn and QT Marshall. One washed up wrestler and one guy who probably shouldn't be kind of in the spot that he is. But, you know, they're building this faction versus faction. Like it's kind of like the sub faction versus faction feud, where it's Cody, it's the Nightmare family versus the Factory. So yeah, Marshall defeated Gunn with a diamond cutter. He's not doing himself any favors by just like bastardizing moves from TDP.
No, but that's
no.
just it's I don't know. It's just kind of one of those things.
Yeah, Go gave Marshall a wooden chair, but then Dustin Rhodes rushed ring to break it up. Rhodes had half his face painted, and I'm not talking about like vertical, like horizontal. Like his eyes were not painted. His eyes and his forehead weren't painted, but the bottom of his mouth was. Interesting. But yeah, Rhodes cleared the former tag team partner, but he broke the weapon. Like Rhodes smacked Camarado with the chair, but just no sold it. Like he hit him over the head with the wooden chair, and he just no sold it. And then the factory just retreated. So yeah, pretty average, but you know, Cage and Hobbs had a good match. I like the way Cage built up powerhouse Hobbs. Really made him look really, really good, but killed Switch in the end. And it looks like we're building to Cage versus Cage. It's Christian Cage versus Brian Cage, because Cage he just stared down Ricky Starks was staring him down, but it does seem like we might build to Cage versus Cage, or we might build to Cage. Like the Team Taz have been having that thing where like Brian Cage and Ricky Starks have been like left backstage and stuff because of the bickering and stuff like that. So maybe we might have Cage and Cage team up together, but who knows? But then, Kieran, this was a really cool, as I remember we said last week, this main event was going to be a really cool showcase of how AEW have built two TV stars. Darby Allin versus Jungle Boy was very, very good, and I really, really enjoyed it. Just so much going on. Luchasaurus helped Jungle Boy back in the ring, preventing a count out. Sting, that brought Sting's connection. These two, as you can imagine, these two lads are young. They were just throwing their bodies around. Just intense, just so many submissions. Darby just throwing himself. Like that man, when he flies out the ring, he's literally using his body as a weapon. I heard commentators using that term way too, like, he's using his body as a weapon with the Torpe Suicida. Darby Allin literally just throws himself into people. And yeah, so Sting came out and kind of brawled with the prehistoric luchador, which is what they say here, which is interesting to talk that. I mean, it makes sense with Luchasaurus. But yeah, running knee to the back of the head, got a near fall for Jungle Boy. Both of them can sell fantastically as well, which just makes this so much better. Allen made it to the ropes after a snare trap, which I love this. I love the snare trap finisher, submission move. Jungle Boy put him in a like surfboard. Darby was just desperate. He was like yanking the hair and the eyes, just desperate to keep his title. And then Last Supper and the pin. So Darby Allin is still your TNT champion. Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page attacked. They're like an alliance now. And Ethan Page hit Ego's Edge, so a play on Razor's Edge to Darby Allin. Lance Archer made the save, but he was getting beaten down. But then Sting reemerged and chased the heels off. So I believe this is, you know, the way Lance Archer and Sting are going on it, I believe Sting saved it just because he's like, I want Lance Archer, not an injured Lance Archer. I don't believe this is an alliance. I believe it's just a respect thing. But yeah, so AEW, as I've said, Kieran, have done really well with these in-between kind of pay-per-view builds. Whereas like they're not at the time where like they're building momentum towards Double or Nothing. But like putting the emphasis on the TNT title and the women's title is a fantastic way of kind of keeping the show interesting, whilst also not bringing all your big cards out ahead of a pay-per-view, if you get me. And I really like that. I really do like that. But yeah, who is Kenny Omega going to face for the AEW title at Double or Nothing? That is a question and a half. I can't imagine they're going to do Hangman yet. That would have been built up already. I believe it's going to be one of my... Oh, sorry, I forgot the best bit about Dynamite, Kieran. Did you hear about this? The elite are full like like we're the best, like we're full of ourselves. They're like wearing like these kind of like all these like designer suits and like the hats and like the earrings and stuff like that. And they were on their trailer and they were like talking, and Omega was talking about how he's going to beat Rich Swann, which he did. But there was like a horn beeping. There was like a horn, and they were like, "Who's that? What's going on?" And they were like, "Gallows, will you tell him to shut up?" And outside in a big truck, you just see Moxley and Kingston in the truck, and they're just laughing their heads off. And Moxley just goes 3, 2, 1 and smashes into the side of the trailer.
Oh, I did see this.
It was so good. And Kingston was just like, wear their shoes, bro. Wear their shoes. Just trying to steal. And Moxley's like, what did I tell you about stealing shit? And he's like, and obviously they escaped. The Elite escaped. But then like Moxley, like they were like, they're scared, and all that sort of stuff. And then Moxley threw the pipe through the window, and Kingston was like, "Do you want to wait till I'm out of the way before you throw that? You fucking..." And it was just so good because they have an alliance, and they're two like scary motherfuckers, but they're bickering at each other. It's brilliant. I love it. It's so good. It's just
it was fun segment.
It's a fun segment, and it's built. We don't know. Maybe they'll go for the tag titles. Maybe they'll do something else. But I want to read this tweet from Renee Young for you, Kieran, before we get into closing up the show. Did you see this tweet about Moxley?
Yeah, go on. What is it?
It's so good. It just sums him up so well. Renee Paquette, who's doing a great podcast at the moment. She's got some really cool guests on. All right, here we go. I asked John if he wanted me to make fajitas for dinner. He said no, swiftly and confidently. So I just made some straight up baked chicken. And now he's eating them out of a damn tortilla. SMA.
Huh. What a man.
What a man. I love him. Love Moxley. But yeah, that was a week in wrestling. It's been a quiet week, so we're probably haven't even just touched just over an hour, which is cool because I've got to get to work and I want to edit this podcast and get it out. So before we leave, Kieran, what are your recommendations?
Oh, fuck. Falcon Winter Soldier. Good show. Very good show. I finished it up this week. I hadn't seen any of it, so I just binged the entire thing. Yeah, really fun show. I watched Nomadland, which was the Best Picture winner this year, which is very good. But I preferred The Father, which is Anthony Hopkins, who controversially won Best Actor, which is a really, really great movie, really sad movie about dementia and people living with it. Yeah, those are my 3 big ones this week. What are yours?
I'm going to plug the Rise Foundation again. Just go to the DCU MPS bio and donate to that because the 24-hour broadcast is coming up and everyone's working really hard at it. So go have a look at that. And any podcasts come up? We always say the Happy Hour podcast. They brought out an episode with TGF. If you don't know, they're quite popular YouTubers. Stunts is what I would say, like Jackass kind of. But it's another case of kind of not judging a book by its cover, because the term genius is quite like, or like a smart business person is quite like subject. Like, it depends on what you see as like what your definition of it is, because like you might look at their products and like them like nearly like injuring themselves and like see idiots who are just like, but they are very, very smart. They're about to sell their clothing business for just over $1 billion, like maybe nearly $1 billion, or like close to €1 billion. Like they're doing some amazing stuff and just a cool outlook on life. It's cool to get different perspectives on the same world that we live in. I'm noticing my camera, I have not on my webcam on. My camera is making my lips look absolutely very weird. It's just changing color.
You look great, Rian. Don't even worry.
I don't look great. But yeah, no. I've just been doing a lot of college work, so I haven't really been watching much. Have I watched anything? No, there just hasn't been. I've been quite on a bit of a Netflix lull, so I might start taking up some of Kieran's recommendations, and having a look at stuff. But yeah, just got to support the Rice Foundation, I suppose. And go listen to Tom Foolery. They're doing the lads over at the DCU crew. Some of my greatest friends are doing a fantastic podcast at the moment. They're touching on great issues, like not issues. They're touching on great topics such as mental health and first impressions, and just loads of cool podcasts. They've got a backlog catalog with like 7 there, so go and listen to them. They're all fantastic. So yeah, that was just me plugging DCU stuff, but it is what it is. So Kieran, I think it was great talking to you on episode 93. We're 7 away from the big 100, and more info will be released soon. But Kieran, it's time to take it home.
Yes, well, I've been your host, Kieran Brendan. With me, as always, my co-host,
the man that genetics forgot, Rian.
And as we say at the end of every episode of the Hall Wrestling Podcast, I hope Vince McMahon RSVPs yes to our weddings.
I thought you were about to say our wedding, and I was like, whoa.
Oh my God.